Of the international mission in Afghanistan has dominated the final day of the Munich Security Conference. The debate come amid growing criticism of the Afghan government, both at home and abroad. But speaking to world leaders on Sunday, President Hamid Karzai defended his record. He said as long as international efforts remain uncoordinated, his country will continue to be plagued by troubles.
The spotlight was on Afghan President Hamid Karzai for the final day of talks in Munich. Relations between Kabul and Western powers have become increasingly strained as a NATO mission struggles to bring stability to the region. Opening the debate, Germany's defense minister responded to Washington's call for more European support. He said troop numbers were sufficient and that international efforts should instead focus on reconstruction.
There can be no development without security, but there can be no security without development either. We won't reach our goals by military means alone. In my view, the Afghan Compact Development Plan, which was agreed to in 2006, has to be implemented.
Many blame the corruption and inefficiency of the Afghan government for the lack of progress. Hamid Karzai is set to run again in presidential elections in August. But his popularity has waned as opium production runs rampant and the Taliban grows stronger. Karzai, in turn, stressed his government's achievements, though he did admit that mistakes had been made in fighting the insurgency.
We did not concentrate on the sanctuaries in time, on the training grounds in time, on the financiers of terrorism in time.
Karzai went on to invite moderate members of the Taliban to return home and help rebuild the country. He said a process of reconciliation will be key to Afghanistan's success, but only with international support.
I spoke earlier to DW-TV's political correspondent Simon Young, who has been attending the security conference in Munich. I put it to him that the final day of the conference focused on Afghanistan and asked if everyone agreed on the way forward in there.
Well, I think there's wide agreement among the international partners of the importance of success in Afghanistan. A lot of people saying here today that it is a crucial test for the future of NATO's ability to respond to international conflicts. And most of the speakers agreed that the key problem in Afghanistan at the moment is the continued terrorism of the Taliban. And many are saying that there aren't enough troops on the ground to a secure victory, which means not just a clear territory from the Taliban, but also to hold it, to win the hearts and minds of local people for new institutions, to end drug production. And so calls for more reconstruction, for more police training. As you mentioned, the American National Security Advisor James Jones admitted mistakes had been made in the past. They hadn't done enough on this. Also, a wide measure of agreement. There's a need to internationalize this, to see it as a regional problem, meaning to bring in Pakistan, which is where many of the Taliban, of course, are located.
The conference has now ended. Did anything concrete come out of the 3 days?
I think so. I think the headline will be the new tone coming from Washington, the new sense of a multilateralist approach. The Europeans are extremely pleased to hear the Vice President Joe Biden saying that he's reaching out to his European partners. He wants to speak to them as equals, reaching out to the Russians, who've already signaled their readiness to talk on disarmament, both on conventional and nuclear weapons, reaching out to the Iranians as well, although it's fairly clear that their response that was given here is a rejection of a US role and US pressure on the Iranians to end their nuclear program. Also been talk about the future strategies for NATO and other problems around the world. But I think the key thing here will be this new sense of impetus and focus on dealing with international conflicts. We'll have to wait and see how far the new multilateralism from Washington will hold if it's tested, as it could be over Iran, if diplomacy and pressure alone don't seem to be working.
Simon Young in Munich. Thank you very much. Madagascar's opposition leader says the fight